Fellow Africans, since 1957, when Ghana gained independence, there has been quite a lot of political, social, economic indicators on the African continent that show that Africa has progressed from pre-independence Africa to post-independence Africa.
Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever. From now on, there is a new African in the world. That new African is ready to fight his own battle and show that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs.
66 years down the road, Africa finds itself with the first country, Ghana, having gained independence. We find ourselves still locked up, controlled, manipulated, instructed, logistically supplied, equipped by foreign powers that dictate our agenda. Africa is endowed with plenty of minerals, resources, good weather. The climate is so favorable for the growth of food enough to sustain us. But we find ourselves in countries where hunger is killing people. Hunger is killing people because most of the people have taken to arms to fight wars, conflicts. Starvation has taken the place of development. In most African countries like Sudan, South Sudan, Central African Republic, Cameroon, Nigeria, in Biafra, and the north of Nigeria, there is Boko Haram. Somalia, in the Horn of East Africa, we have taken to conflict instead of development. Development was the key indicator. When Kwame Nkrumah made the first speech that seek ye African political unity, economic development will come automatically, he was right. The events happening in Libya today vindicates Nkrumah, vindicates Nyerere, Sekou Toure, and Nasser, the founding fathers of our Pan-Africanism. The events happening in Central African Republic, in Congo today, as the war of rebels ranges on between the rebel and the rebels and the government and the rebels, vindicates the founding fathers of this revolution. Our independence, therefore, was only on paper. Our independence, therefore, was only in symbols. Our independence also was in signs. Our independence also was in boundaries. That we received our flags, but we never received full independence as by the word independence. Most of the 3/4 of African countries, French-speaking countries, have their budgets being done in Paris. Is that independence? The Paris government or the French government does its budgets based on how much they will get from African countries. Is that independence? Is this the Africa that you want? Is it the Africa that we must look at? Is it the Africa that we shall leave for the future generation? If the answer to you is yes, then so be it. But if the answer is no, you agree with me that this is not the Africa we want to live for the future generation. Our generations and the future generation need to find a legacy. What is the legacy that Africa and African Union will leave for the future generation? The wars ranging in Libya, in South Sudan, in Khartoum, in Mogadishu, in DRC Congo, in Amazonia, in Cameroon, Boko Haram, Mali, in Mauritania, the uprisings in Algeria, all point to one thing, that yes, we are not yet independent. We are still controlled by external forces. Thank you. Today, thousands and thousands of Africans and many countries in Africa have conflicts. Notably, from Libya, Cameroon, Nigeria, Biafra, and the Boko Haram, to Democratic Republic of Congo, of where we have seen a resurgence of the past military and conflicts coming back in that country. Hundreds and hundreds of people have been displaced, killed, maimed, tortured, raped, several of them dying of hunger, starvation, and other natural causes. The fighting seems not to be ending. For the sake of Libya, the Libyan recognized international government is under siege in Tripoli from another faction recognized by Egypt, France, UAE, and other countries. Whereas the one in Tripoli is recognized by the UN, it has been bombarded, has been strangulated, and many millions of Libyans are dying of hunger, lack of water. The water system has been cut off. The bombardment goes on. In Democratic Republic of Congo, we've seen more of active rebel activities returning to the region after some silence has been observed. When we come to Cameroon, we see millions and millions of Amazonians slaughtered. Yet, when you come to Biafra, again millions and hundreds of millions and millions are worried, displaced, tortured by the Buhari regime. Yet again in the north, we see Boko Haram killing, maiming, abducting, and burning down villages in the same Nigeria. When you cross over to Central African Republic, the same is the history that has littered Africa. While all these events are taking shape, Africa is silent. Africa is not making enough efforts to find a solution to what is causing the problems in Libya, in DRC, in Cameroon, in Nigeria, Biafra, and now you add in Khartoum, Sudan. As people die, the people of Africa have no answers, have no solutions. There is nothing to endear to bring an end to the conflicts that have killed Africa. We seem to be new ones manufactured, old ones reignited, encouragement coming from external powers. One power that has been seen in the shadows of all these conflicts, especially the one of Libya that has escalated in the Saharan region of Africa, is France. When you come to Democratic Republic of Congo, the same country is in the shadows. The war can be seen is France. When you come to Cameroon, in the Amazonia, the one behind that has the key to bringing peace is France. Therefore, our question as Africans, why are we silent? Why are we not saying enough is enough of the wars? Thank you.
Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting from the Republic of Kenya in Nairobi, in the political command center of Punchline Africa Television is Dr. David Matsanga. And sitting in the headquarters of Punchline Africa Television is Miriam Ogutu, our senior anchor, senior presenter, researcher. Good morning, Miriam.
A very good morning to you, Doctor, and very nice to see you.
And sitting in again somewhere in Nairobi, in the capital city, CBD, is our investigative journalist, Daniel Wesonga. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Matsanga, Miriam, and our esteemed viewers across the nation of Kenya and, of course, the rest of Africa. Good morning.
And the rest of the world.
Yes.
Today is a great day for the country of Kenya. Today is a great day for the nations of Africa. A united Africa is what Kwame Nkrumah wanted to see. A united Africa is what Jomo Kenyatta, Obote, Sekou Toure, Amilcar Cabral, Gabriel Nasser, Haile Selassie, Patrice Lumumba, Mondlane, Agostinho Neto, Mandela, Robert Mugabe, Julius Nyerere, Benebera. They wanted to see a united Africa. They wanted to see Africa. Milton Obote, all of them died thinking that Africa one day would be united. It is a shame for the current Africa, for us to be seen that here we are divided. Today is the last day that a vote is being cast in the United Nations to decide who will be a member, a non-member on the United Nations Security Council to join the permanent members for 2 years, 2021 to 2022. Today is a great day for me. It's a great day and a sad day also for me. It's a sad day in that a divided Africa. Oh, as we are talking, as I wanted to tell you, we had some technical hiccups this morning, but the power seemed to have come back. But we shall proceed on this same mechanism until I put up the same situation. When Medium takes over, I will be able to reorganize for the systems to hit up. Today, I feel ashamed as an African. I feel ashamed to see two Africans standing in the international community, standing in the world community, bargaining for the same thing, bargaining for a seat. What happened to our consensus? Who killed our consensus? Who killed our understanding as Africans? Who destroyed this continent? Who bewitched us? Who has destroyed Africa? Who has killed this continent? Who is taking us to a war zone? Who wants to kill us? Who wants to dismember Africa? Who is this? Who is against the people of Africa? Who is this telling Africans to be divided? I want to know. I have the answers. My colleagues, Miriam, Daniel, you'll pick up the pieces, but I'm going for them now. Kenya today is an African nominee, an African candidate for the United Nations non-member permanent member slot at the United Nations. Somebody in Europe, somebody in Qatar, Istanbul, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and other nations decided that it will not be business as usual for Kenya. Somebody told Djibouti that you better put in your bid. You better put in your bid. I want to say it is a shame for the people of Africa today, for two countries, member states of African Union, member states of IGAD, fighting for a slot which they should have agreed on before going to New York. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you the reasons why. Then I leave Miriam to bring the data. The reason is why they have done so is because the African Union is captured. It has been captured by a foreign non-African state and the foreign non-African states, the new colonizers who have arrived on the scene. They have taken Africa, pocketed it, they will use it, they sweep it, they kill it, they create conflicts, they destroy us, they take our money, they continue to colonize us. Kenya is suitable. Kenya has done a lot in the Great Lakes region. an island of peace around the conflicts, an island of harmony where there is no harmony, a country that welcomes refugees when others send them away, a country that has gone to pacify Somalia when others look the other way, a country that has always engaged in dialogue to bring about a peaceful end to conflicts when others want to use muscles, military means to resolve the conflicts. Kenya is a great country in the Great Lakes region. Kenya deserves this seat. Kenya is capable to steer us away from the conflicts. Kenya is capable to host any warring parties. Kenya is neutral. Kenya that we see that are killing Africa today. Kenya has paid its membership full. It has no debt with African Union. Kenya paid $1 million for the setting up of the African Court of Human Rights and Justice. Kenya has been the beacon of hope for Africa and the region. Who is dismembering us? Over to you, Miriam.
All right, thank you so much there. And of course, Kenya will today know whether it has a seat at the powerful United Nations Security Council permanent representatives at the 93 UN member states in New York will cast their ballots for the country candidates vying for the non-permanent membership slots. Now, Kenya is competing against Djibouti for the single African group seat currently occupied by South Africa. A program of the vote shows that member states would cast ballots during designated time slots at the General Assembly Hall. And this is due to the limitations on large gatherings of the United Nations due to COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Kenya's bid is part of 5 seats available for election this year, according to the regular distribution among regions. It launched its global campaign in November 2019 in New York, following the endorsement by the African Union in August of the same year. So last year, member states of African Union voted to have Kenya take this slot, and Kenya won the vote 37 to 13 of that of Djibouti, and twice the vote took place, and twice Djibouti conceded to this, but later on backpedaled and said, no, we don't agree with that, and we shall go ahead and also vie for this seat. And Doctor, something very interesting and maybe disturbing, and perhaps some of the things that are playing into why Djibouti perhaps might have backpedaled on even the seating twice there. Now, in a note to the Organization of Islamic Cooperation on Tuesday, the General Secretariat asked the member states to support Djibouti in the election. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation has 57 members, 26 being from Africa. So this includes Algeria, Benin, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Chad, Comoros, Djibouti, Egypt, Gabon, Gambia, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Ivory Coast, Mali, Mauritania, Morocco, Mozambique, Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Somalia, Sudan, Togo, Tunisia, and Uganda. So should these member states actually agree to what their secretariat is telling them? So these 26 votes in Africa has already gone to Djibouti, Doctor. I don't know why the Organization of Islamic Cooperation feels it is important for it to come in and give such an advice.
I've lost you there, Miriam.
I'm just saying the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation has 57 members, 26 of which are in Africa. And on Tuesday, it gave out a notice, or rather employed its member states to support Djibouti in this election. And in Africa, I've read just a couple of countries there, 26 of them, and they're being told, you know what, because as Organization of Islamic Cooperation, we want all our member states to vote for Djibouti. And I see Nigeria's in there, Tunisia's in there, Uganda's in there, Somalia, Sudan. So should they heed to that advice by the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, then definitely they might vote for Djibouti. Or maybe, do you think some of them will change their mind?
I think Uganda will not vote. Miriam, Uganda is not going to vote on the line of Islamic states. Mm-hmm. You remember Idi Amin took us to Islamic states mm-hmm. when he was in power. But Uganda is not an Islamic country. Uganda is 90% Christian country. Therefore, we were taken there by Idi Amin. Also now it questions why we have not even revoked the membership. But it is okay. Religion is religion. No problem. Mm-hmm. The problem here we have, and let's talk about it mm-hmm. without fear of contradiction. Mm-hmm. The problem we have in Africa is the AU. First, the AU itself is captured. Then you move. If you are captured, you are a prisoner. Then what can you tell the other countries who see you captured? That's why Djibouti backpedaled, because it knows the weaknesses of the chairperson of African Union, Mr. Mohamed Faki. He is captured. They have captured them. Now, 193 member states. As you know, the membership of United Nations, France has the highest number of colonies and the countries in the United Nations. Therefore, if you are going on that ratio, we have Kenya having, let's say, assume Kenya is going to have the United Nations English-speaking countries and some Spanish, Portuguese, like those from Angola, Maputo, because of SADC. Because SADC, the entire SADC has agreed. The entire SADC has agreed to make it workable, to vote for Kenya, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Maputo, Mozambique, Botswana. Those are voting in a block. They have already voted. Therefore, they will not change. Their diplomats will not change. But the problem lies now. Why are we reaching where we have reached? It's because of interests. Interests, foreign interests, have brought us where we are. The United States of America is lying to us, and we want to see this time where it throws its vote. We are watching closely. I am going to bring everything for you. I have my men inside AU, inside the United Nations. Remember, I have been around this territory of UN for more than 44 years. Some of the younger men working there in legal department were my people. I am going to know by evening which country voted for who. So this time, Your Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, we shall know who are our friends and those who are not our friends. There is no time for coating, sugar coating. Qatar is not our friend. Qatar is the one that mobilized Djibouti to go and vote in a different way. So this time, we would like to know some of these countries, mark them. In Somalia, they are causing us havoc. Okay. There is havoc in Somalia. Then we come here, AU, there is havoc. We go to UN, there is havoc. Then at night, they come, they want to do business with Kenya. Time has come for us to engage people who are friends. If you are not a friend of Kenya, pack, ship, go understand wherever you are. Because there's no need of having a policy, a foreign policy of hop, step, jump, retreat, then jump back, then retreat. Support us on principle. I want to thank the British government, Her Majesty's government, for unparalleled support for the country called Kenya. They said it, they have kept it, they are saying it, they are whipping the Commonwealth nations to stand by Kenya. That is friendship. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Her Majesty government. The British government stands firmly behind Kenya's bid. I want to thank Germany. These are countries that have come out to say exactly what they want. They say, yes, we shall be with Kenya. Kama baya, baya. Kama tuanguke, tuanguke.
And also, Doctor, some of the OIC's member states, such as Algeria, have publicly endorsed Kenya for the non-permanent seat. And Libya, of course, is not eligible to vote this year because it was suspended in 2011 due to human rights violations there. But what now, Doctor? Because this is something that, we've been talking about this matter, but I didn't imagine it will come out in play in this regard, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Why are we using religion to divide us? Because this is what essentially is happening. So what if a majority of African countries, which are, majority of us are Christians, we come and we decide, because such and such a country is not, because Libya is, say, it's dominantly Muslim. So because of that, we shouldn't care about this and that. And I think we are allowing religion, or rather they are bringing this ideologies that we see that has destroyed the Middle East and other parts of the world, and they're bringing that ideology that divides countries on religious lines. And this is very, very, very dangerous if we continue following this trajectory.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, Miriam, and maybe just to look at it at the intellectual point of view, we have to look at the agenda of these bodies. Under which agenda are we campaigning from? If they have to tell us that they want to bring Djibouti on the basis of Islamic association, then they also have to tell us the role that this Islam or this religion, we are a Christian nation, but they have to tell us what this particular religion has done in bringing peace in Africa, in brokering a lot of trying to bring tranquility in warring factions across Africa. In Somalia, Kenya has been a very big player in bringing peace there. Kenya is not an Islamic state. So what has these other Islamic states done to guarantee now to use that platform of being a Muslim country to rally behind Djibouti? So I think on their side they are clutching at the last straws, and they really don't have any agenda that they are trying to use to propel Djibouti into that position, rather than petty excuses. And of course, yesterday we discussed that in depthly, because when you look at Djibouti has not been a player in matters of security, in matters of bringing peace in the region. But when the time for the election comes, they tell you we are supporting Djibouti because it's an Islamic state. we are not supporting Kenya because of this and this and that. But Kenya on its side has an agenda. We have very solid points. We have every reason why we want to take that position in the UN Security Council. So I think from my side, they lack an agenda to rally on when they can go ahead to try and use religion to back up their support for Djibouti.
And even if you look at the list of even the African countries which are part of the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation, and sorry, we're not having a religious, war here. We're not supporting. We appreciate, but people have to understand. Yes.
Miriam, let me come in here.
Yes.
We're Songa, and you have made a very good point.
Yes.
We are not having a religious war.
Yeah, we're
but
not. Let's look at the facts. And even the countries, Doctor, here in Africa that are part of this organization, I was just looking at them, and majority of them are in chaos right now. And I've not heard one time the Organization of Islamic Cooperation come and say, now we need to meet and look at the insecurity in Niger, for example. Look at the insecurity. Look at what Alpha Conde is doing in Guinea. Look at what is happening in Chad. Look at what is happening in Nigeria. Look at what is happening in Egypt. Speak about what is happening in Sudan, in Somalia. I've not heard them come out and become very vocal. But when it comes to matters, especially on Kenya, I've realized, we saw the other time the Arab League between Kenya and Somalia, the maritime dispute, they're very quick to come out and say, Kenya should keep off. Like, what gives them the right? Especially, I think when it comes to Kenya, it's how they come in and they feel they have a voice and they want to prove a point. What is it that is happening, Doctor? Are we missing the point here?
Let me tell you the point here. The point is colonial hangover. The Ottoman Empire, the Omani Empire. These guys still think we can be traded in. Don't lose that point. Remember, these are the guys who came and bought us like a commodity. Africans forget history so easily. Today in the Middle East, our younger daughters are being raped, are being beaten, are being locked up in. They have gone to look for work.
Are being sold as slaves.
They are being sold. They are being not beaten, well raped, maimed, killed. How many Ugandans have been tortured? How many Kenyans have been tortured in these Arab countries? Because they take us as slaves. Remember, the Arabs came here to buy us. They never came here to build us. Show me what they came here to do. Show me. I was born in a year 1955 when Arabs were passing with ivory. My name is Masanga in my tribe, means Amasanga, means ivory. The root in my own county, in my own place of birth, there is a big root. Even the marks are there, the road. It is a big road up to Chebukube. Cheptais, through Kenya, Bagamoyo, Ujiji, Dar es Salaam, Mombasa, Malindi. These routes came from the interior of Africa. These guys still think they buy us. They have not left that colonial hangover. That's one reason. It's not a war of religion. No. It is still that mentality. The anthropological mentality traits of thinking that Africans are commodities. We are not commodities. You see how Somali people behave to us Kenyans, to Kenyans. When they are in Somalia, you have gone to liberate them, then they tell you to quit. They start backstabbing you because they also think. Second factor is most of the Arab countries think that they have brothers across the Red Sea. That's why it explains they have exported their violence from Iran, Qatar. Nyenye, mnatuletea hapa shida. They are bringing problems on African continent. They are exporting violence in Mozambique. Look at what is happening in northern Mozambique. Qatar is looking for oil in northern Mozambique, and the gas and the hot springs.
And Mozambique is a member of the OIC, yes.
Yes. They have gone there. Now Qatar is supporting a rebel group that is destabilizing the government of Maputo. Qatar sends money to Al-Shabaab. Walai, to destroy us, to kill us. Time has come for us. Leo ni leo. Wacha tuambie, you can take the seat, but next time don't come here. President Uhuru Kenyatta should stand up. Kenya should pick up a foreign policy, a tough foreign policy. Countries cannot go on undermining us. Then they come here and they beg in hotels. Oh, come for cocktail. Cocktail what? Qatar is creating chaos in Somalia. Kenyan troops in Mogadishu, in Kismayo, will soon be killed because Qatar wants oil. Qatar went to pay for Somalia's legal fees. Which country is this that pays legal fees instead of telling Somalia to negotiate with Kenya? Which country, which friend is this? I am asking people in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Nye, Muniambie, are these friends? I'm not a diplomat. Sorry. I am an African activist. If you don't like me in Kenya, I will go somewhere else. But I will remain an activist. But you will need me. I'm telling you. Because we shall be fighting the same enemy.
And Doctor, one of our viewers here is asking maybe you could answer this question, Don Diallo de la Vegas, and thank you so much for writing to us. Continue. And you're saying, what is the real point for the African continent, for African nations to be on the United Nations Security Council? Why does the African Union not have its own Security Council, Doctor? Why is it important for us to be part of the United Nations Security Council?
To maintain peace, to accelerate the programs of peacekeeping missions, to maintain stability of the region, to take part in decisions that affect Africa. It is important for an African country to remain on the United Nations Security Council. He has a point that which I don't want to raise now. I'm one of the few academics who believes United Nations Security Council is a conman. They are conmen.
You and Mugabe, the late Mugabe.
No, not only Mugabe is gone. I have to sing his song. I was one of his men. He mentored me. He left a spirit here. Why is it that 70 years after the end of the Second World War, why don't you give us permanent seat? Why are we quarreling on this small seat of 2 years? 2 years, are we not able? Don't we have diamonds, which you don't have? Do you have diamonds? Why do you come to Africa to steal them? Munakuja kuiba diamonds zetu. Hey, and you don't give us a permanent seat. Anyway, that is for another day. This one is to fight, to tell the truth about Djibouti. Djibouti, Miriam, the Can I say it now?
But Dr.
What can you say?
Before you say it, you mentioned something there that I really can't let go. You said, why can't they give us? Can't we not demand for that seed as Africans? Because our population, 55 countries. I mean, we can demand, not just wait for them to give us. Can't we do that?
We can do that, but Africa is divided. We could have done that, but Africa has sold itself. That guy in the AU sold us a long time ago. Do you know what pains me? Let me tell you what pains me.
Go ahead.
President Museveni safeguards his telephone so well that nobody can tap into the president's phone. But I want to tell the world that as soon as President Museveni and other presidents land in Addis Ababa for that AU summit, their phones are tapped by a superpower called France. I tabled that evidence. The AU has never come back to tell me it's wrong. Instead, they called me names. Yet I'm more educated than the stupid cranks who are calling me names in the AU headquarters. They are very stupid. I would like to ask Africa. I have contacted the former president of Ghana, Rawlings. We are going to form a task force to rescue African Union. There is a country in Africa that is going to give us a support, a task force to rescue African Union. Independently, we wrestle it out. Plans will be told to you. If it was not COVID-19, halai, wala, I want to tell you, this Muhammad Faki would be having problems with us now.
Yes, Muhammad Faki, yes.
Yes, but why should the president look after his telephone so well? Then when he reached Addis Ababa, it is tapped. It is listened to. All the data is taken to one superpower. That superpower came and told Djibouti, don't worry. You know you speak the same language with us. You put in your bid. Then that same superpower, do you know that Qatar is the most hated country in the Arab world? Can I tell you, the viewers today?
Well, Saudi Arabia leads the hate brigade.
Yes, there. Saudi Arabia
leads the hate
Egypt,
on Qatar.
UAE say Qatar sponsors terrorism. America stands behind Qatar and says no. France stands behind Qatar and says no. Listen to me, yeah. They export terrorism. Where you see Qatar trying to dig oil, it is the French. Qatar has no machine that can drill oil. It's Total oil. You want me to pour more? Do you want me to release more? Wacha moto leo. When you see Qatar, they are exporting terrorism on African continent. We are not violent. The war in, you know what they are doing now? You know what Djibouti is doing? It is saying it is the best man to negotiate the crisis of Somalia. They have now got a few Al-Shabaab, about 4 or 5 commanders. So all along, Djibouti knew the commanders of who have been killing us. And they are putting these commanders in a hotel in Doha. As we speak now, negotiations have been going on. While we have died, my Ugandan brothers are dying. Bombs are blasting, killing them. Kenyan brothers are dying. While Djibouti is doing a security deal in Doha with Qatar on Al-Shabaab. Why is it that Al-Shabaab has not been gazetted even after killing us as a proscribed terrorist group? Shame on America. Shame. Shame. That's why today, look at what America is going to. Let's see the vote. I tell you by tomorrow morning, I am going to tell you where America voted and how it voted. You will be shocked. You will be shocked. Kenyan foreign policy, change, learn your brothers, learn your friends. Some of these countries are not our friends. Over to you, Miriam.
All right.
Yes, and Miriam, maybe if I could just chip in, I think
ahead,
the only hope that, yes, I think the only hope that is remaining for Africa is the current leadership of African presidents to go back to the blueprint of the dream that our forefathers had, like Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, of having a united Africa. And also we had some African leaders, including Leopold Sedar Senghor of Senegal, and other leaders from Nigeria and Liberia who were so much enthusiastic to come up with a bloc that could see Africa quite united. But you know, as it is right now, 62 years ever since Dr. Kwame Nkrumah proposed the countries in Africa to unite into a federation, it all remains as an idea like it was back then, quite impractical. So that is something that we should look at, so that we do away with this colonial border mentalism, mentality that was implanted to us, so that we don't become an easy target of foreign powers like Qatar, the French, the United States of America, and other foreign powers that are interested in the resources in this continent. So that is the only solution that we can have. If we can strengthen some bloc that brings us together, other than the African Union, and lead us really show truth, then we wouldn't be having such a stalemate that we have today with Djibouti.
All right, thank you there. And our viewers also have been, part of this show. They have been communicating with us here.
Miriam, before you go.
Just a question here from our viewers. Yeah, continue.
Before you go.
Yes.
Today is a day to tell the truth. Mm-hmm. I want Africans listening to me today. Why is Libya burning? Why is Libya in chaos? Because of the same countries. Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Turkey, Egypt, claiming to be Arab League, went and set fire on the government in Tripoli. They killed Gaddafi and then said Gaddafi was a terrorist. France moved in, asked the United International Criminal Circus, International Criminal Circus, not criminal court. Mm-hmm. It is a circus to arrest Gaddafi, mm-hmm. to arrest Gaddafi's son, but they left the terrorists. Yes. What happened to the terrorists? Why not the terrorists? Why were they not arrested? If you can give me one answer why Libya is burning today, and we see the Ottoman Empire, Turkey, sending in troops across the Mediterranean Sea without any Security Council resolution blocking it. We can see General Haftar, Khalifa Haftar in Cairo being given a red carpet.
As a head of state, were you sure? I was
As
2
a
weeks
head of
ago,
state.
I was shocked.
You people in Africa, Corona has saved AU. AU, we need to divide it. I am now practically giving solution. President Museveni, President Uhuru, listen. If we can't unite it, let it go. We come back to unite East African community. The same country, France, came to East Africa, made Rwanda president not talk to Uganda president, made the late Burundi president, may his soul rest in peace. He has died not talking to Kagame. They made DRC Congo ungovernable, made Tanzania confused to the extent that Tanzania now says there is no corona. Magufuli is in chaos because he accepted the French mercenaries on his land. Where are the 500 French men who went to dig the railway? Where did they disappear? Who are these? Are they not the mercenaries in northern Mozambique who are fighting there? Who's fighting in northern Mozambique? So when you come to all this, why are we divided? We carry our dirty linen, throw it to the continent and other countries in the world. Djibouti today, with less toilets in Djibouti, wants to stand up to say we can accommodate a Security Council slot. How many toilets do you have in Djibouti? How many? Apart from hosting Al-Shabaab terrorists, how many do you have? Time has come to tell the truth. Why do we hide? Djibouti, Eritrea, they know what is happening. They know who kills us here. Hey, George Soros has a headquarters in Djibouti. The African heritage. Google it. Google it. What it does in that port, Djibouti. Tell me, what does George Soros want? Who told Djibouti? Who's paying Djibouti? George Soros. I swear in the name of God. I've followed everything. Who paid George Djibouti to dismember Kenya's bid? George Soros. Through the Africa Foundation Heritage organization based in Djibouti. Intelligence officers in Africa, check. If you come back with no results, then I'll resign.
Yes,
You can't beat me on this. If you didn't know, now know. Miriam asked you one question. That where does Djibouti get strength? Miriam, now you see, there you are. I've laid it bare. Have you seen the three forces? Three triangle.
That is
France, Qatar, and George Soros Foundation.
And doctor, where does China play out in all this? Because China also is a key factor in all this.
Thank you.
Yes, so we cannot exonerate China.
Thank you.
So maybe
China,
maybe it's a rectangle, not a triangle.
China successfully built a railway from Djibouti to Addis Ababa. The country is destroying Kenya. You can see their link. It's well networked.
Yes, and also
Ethiopia is killing, is shooting down Kenyan planes in Somalia. Don't forget that to pass. Leo na leo, wacha tuseme. Don't threaten us. What will you do, Ethiopia? What? You will stop me from traveling? What do I have? I'm not a terrorist. Leo, wacha tuseme. Let's be honest. Ethiopia is shooting Kenyan planes in Somalia. Ethiopia, Djibouti, Eritrea, Somalia, they know who the terrorists who are killing us. They don't share that information with Kenya. Mm-hmm. They have teamed up quietly. Even in Somalia, Faramijo. Yesterday, at 12:49 East African Standard Time, Faramijo Rwanga, the ambassador, late at night in Washington, in New York. I can't tell you the instructions here. It's very deadly. So, which country is this helping? What are we helping? Mm-hmm. That guy who is in New York is partly a Ugandan Somali man. We know him. If you find him, he speaks. He was in London. His forms for asylum. It is this mouth talking. What can he say? He knows what. He phoned him. He's my friend. Mm-hmm. We also know what they do. Let them not think we don't know. They were talking on how to fail Kenya. But God stands. For me, Miriam, I want to end here to say, I am sad, I'm saddened that the international community is tonight, this afternoon, 9 o'clock East American time.
They'll start voting at 4 p.m. Kenyan's time.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That is where the thing is going to shame us. And that is my submission.
But
why is Africa divided? Why who divides us? Now you know 3 characters.
Mm-hmm. And the fourth one?
Medium, not a related matter, yes, or closely related. Yesterday, when we are discussing whether Africa needs elections in COVID-19, did you know why these African leaders are rushing for these elections? Mm-hmm. Do you know yesterday I pleaded with African leaders, don't conduct elections, put their measures to safeguard yourselves. Because you are going to be overthrown by George Soros. Magufuli, why did not want to mention the word corona?
I saw him in Parliament.
I have now discovered why.
Why is that? He is not sick now. And
the Tanzanian law gives 2-term limit.
Yes.
2-term limit. Mm-hmm. Constitutionally, you cannot extend. You cannot extend the Tanzanian law. 2. So, if Mr. Magufuli does not hold elections in October, his term will the first term will have ended. And then who becomes the Speaker of National Assembly will assume, if you declare a state of emergency, the Speaker of National Assembly now takes over, and you are not a...
we need that constitution.
Can I again? No, listen.
Somewhere,
The one of Uganda is
Africa.
even more. The one of Uganda is simpler for you.
That one is easy to play with.
No, if the president of the Republic of Uganda, well, do you know why people are running left and right to hold the election?
They have 6 months to prepare now. Yes.
If the president of the Republic of Uganda does not hold the elections in February, he's not a president.
So 34 years would have gone to waste. Okay.
But past February, he will not be the president. The Speaker of National Assembly becomes the president and conducts. If you read, you see, people have been left out to interpret constitutions. I wish Museveni could ask some of us.
But Doctor,
we could be very helpful. But he hates us.
But when it comes to the constitution,
Miriam, that has been the perception across the African continent. Leaders are taking advantage of this.
But you see, the constitution is something that is not very respected here in Africa, a lot of African countries, and we've seen a lot of constitutional coups and people thinking they can change constitutions as well as they can change their cars or something if they feel this does not work for me. So what do? I will change it by force, like as we've seen Alpha Conde try to do there, as we see a lot of African leaders try to do. So in Uganda, I don't know, because President Museveni is known to not to be very respectful of the constitution.
On this one, let me tell you, on this one, he has been caught.
Okay. So he has
catch 22. Have you seen where the trouser is in the legs and the other one is up, the other one is down?
That is a bad situation.
Because if he doesn't hold the elections by February, and then if he holds elections, which are scientific, what are the problems?
Scientific, Doctor, please explain to our viewers in the context of Uganda, scientific elections. What will this entail? I'm confused.
Have you ever heard of the word Waterloo?
Yes, the scandal.
Yes, that is the Waterloo. Because George Soros has brought him. Whoever brought Corona brought George Soros. You remember that George Soros is the owner of the pharmaceutical plant in Wuhan. Do you know that? With Bill Gates. They brought this thing to finish these guys. Hey, now you see where they are going. If you hold the scientific elections in Malawi, the civil society will be on the streets like a water. 23rd, they will be in the streets of Blantyre, Lilongwe. They will be demanding for Muzaura. What is his name?
Mutharika. But also, Malawi's democracy there is very vibrant. That's what I've realized. They will demonstrate.
That's why I'm telling you. George Soros.
It's very vibrant.
It's done them. You hold that election scientifically in Malawi. Already Malawi has gone. You know, Malawi has already accused Mutharika for killing people.
Yeah.
In the ICC. Yes. I've just received a note last night. So you can see I have a lot of work to do on the continent to help Mutharika. And why, if you hold that election, the opposition are going to say, my friend, you cheated us.
Yes.
there will be no mercy.
Even the Chief Justice, the new one that he installed, the court refused, and so I don't know what is happening there in Malawi. But Doctor, back to our conversation today, a divided Africa, and then you mentioned there today, of course, we're waiting for that result. But impeaching Kenya's bid, Foreign Affairs PS Macharia Kamau is exuded a lot of confidence there, and says that Kenya is in the better choice, citing its place in representing Africa's diversity. And just quoting him, here I'm reading from the Star newspaper, page 7, it says Kenya can champion Africa's collective interest in the United Nations Security Council, and we invite all members of the UN family to consider our humble request for the support. So he's saying we are confident Kenya is going to clinch this seat, Doctor. Do we
Thank you.
Do we rest in that confidence?
Macharia is my friend. Usually, I don't publicly criticize my friends. But when I find them one-on-one, we finish each other. So, on this, we want Kenya to win. Miriam, we want Kenya now to win.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully by evening. And I've promised people tomorrow, I'll tell you how America voted. So that some people don't eat our food here.
Well, we have that in plenty, at least for now.
Yes. They eat the other one, Rainbag, ate our food and ate our woman.
Stop.
Took our lady.
Love is just blind.
Love has no... Did you see what I wrote this morning?
Alone, Doctor.
Miriam, I wrote that don't worry about the past. Yeah. So let's hope they will vote for us today. Because by tomorrow, Mr. Guterres, I have my people around there. Those who tell me everything. I will know how they voted. Then I come back to discuss. Tomorrow we shall discuss what next. Miriam, don't forget this. What next after the slot?
Mm-hmm.
When we have got it. But whichever way it comes,
Yes.
I want to conclude on this note. We have shown a very bad example to the world that Africans cannot be united. Thank you.
Daniel?
Yes, and of course, Miriam, tomorrow, that will be a very good litmus test to know who are our friends and those ones who have been masquerading around, but of course they have other interests with other people who do not support us. And I think now for the African continent, it's high time we realize that these people are not for the good of this continent. And Dr. Matsanga raised a very serious point there that Muammar Gaddafi was branded a terrorist, and they came for his head. And that is why right now Libya is still in a crisis. And you remember also back in history when Mandela was fighting for the independence of his country, when Samora Machel with the Frelimo were fighting for the independence of Mozambique, when Robert Mugabe and his comrades were fighting for the independence of Zimbabwe. These are the same people who branded them a terrorist group. Even here back in Kenya, Mau Mau was branded a terrorist group. But when you look at the policies, the agenda that these freedom fighters had was an agenda to restore the African land back to the African people, to restore our dignity, fighting for our interests. So history, back in history and right now, there's no way we can be able to trust these foreign powers to come into our agenda and try to show us which route to follow. So we need to sit down as African people and really determine our own fate rather than being entangled in these other foreign powers decisions. And Djibouti, I think it's taking that very dangerous route where it's being influenced by these former colonialists to take up the...
All right, thank you so much there. And I don't think I will be doing justice if I don't read some of the comments by our viewers here who have been very active on the show by writing to us. Jemo
Miriam,
Mudoka, yes.
Miriam, as you read the comments, I just beg to
All right.
depart.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you.
You can finalize them with
With
Mr.
Daniel.
Daniel.
I will do
Yes.
that. I will do that.
Thank you very much, viewers. God bless you. Let me go and squeeze 1, 2, 3 other countries that are standing on the fence
You
to
do
drop
that. You do that, please.
for Kenya.
Yes, mobilize
Yes.
and for that support. Thank you so much, Doctor. And so, Jemo Mudoka, you're saying Kenya is the best solution for this. And you also say we need justice for our beloved people who die in the line of duty. Ben Okeke, you're saying, Doctor, how possible would the West allow Africa to be part of the Security Council, knowing full well that Africa continent is the key sustenance to Western power? Secondly, do you think that African leaders will unanimously vote one African leader to represent the interest when there is no trust and unionism in their activities? I think I know you already made your last remarks here, but this point being raised here by Ben Okeke, because remember during the conversation there, Daniel, we said, is it perhaps time that Africa had a slot, at the United Nations Security Council, the permanent slot? Right now we have 5 permanent members, and usually the other 10 non-permanent member is rotational there. So that is how the United Nations Security Council is constituted. So at the 5. And we've been saying perhaps it's about time Africa had a permanent slot there at the United Nations Security Council. But Ben here is raising a matter, and I think falls right under the topic that we're having today, and is saying, knowing very well the way Africa are, number one, it is easier because you're not in the permanent slots, and we know a lot of those countries are benefiting and benefited so much and still are benefiting from Africa. A country like France, its economy is supported by the activities of its former colonies here in the continent. That is the truth. And we see a lot of those other countries out there, they still benefit a lot and unfairly from Africa, so they might not even agree to vote for Africa to be on the permanent, to be a permanent member. That is number one. And then number two, he brought in the question of the disunity. Can Africa even decide to support one person? And how will be this criteria? I can't even imagine the drama that will come with that, deciding on one person and as a permanent, when Africa becomes a permanent member, what will be the criteria? And he's saying here, the disunity in this continent might work against us. So we're not really united.
Yes. And one thing to note, Miriam, before the scramble of African continent, what the colonialists knew is that when they divided us, is when they could effectively be able to steal these resources from our land. And that is why perhaps they divided us into these ethnic boundaries before now they came in and colonized us. And of course, there's an African saying that says that when the two brothers fight, then the neighbor inherits the wealth or the land. So, of course, Africa can unite, its leaders can unite, and we can speak with one voice as a continent, but not before we take away the interests of these outside former colonialists, because that is what is citing African leaders against the other, because you find one leader here is representing the interests of the French, another one is representing the interests of the British, another one is representing the interests of the countries in the Middle East. So when we are coming to the negotiation table, we do have a conflict of interest, and these are not interests that are beneficial to the African people. These are interests that are beneficial to the foreign powers. And of course, they are connected directly to the resources that are back here in Africa. Mm-hmm. So not until our leaders learn to speak about the interests of our own people rather than propagating the interests of these foreign powers, then it's very difficult for Africa to forge a common cause of unity among its leadership. And of course, that permanent position in the United Nations Security Council is quite essential for the development of the African continent, because we are the home of resources. A lot of resources are leaving Africa, going to abroad. in helping in various industries and manufacturing of various goods. So we are a continent of interest, and we cannot afford to miss a seat at the UN Security Council. So it's high time our leaders sat together, ended such squabbles that like the one we are having right now between Djibouti and Kenya, and we just forged a common cause of ensuring that our seat at the table of the UN Security Council is secured. So that will be my opinion.
Right, and Don Diallo de la Vegas, you're saying the AU needs its own Security Council. If the African Union, the way it is right now, it's even failing in its mandate in this continent, we see a lot of situations that would have warranted an intervention by the African Union because there's a special charter that allows it. Remember before AU was formed, the Organization African Union was rebranded in 2002. It was limited in certain aspects. It could not go and intervene in member states and things like that. So they realized that they needed a new format, a new way, because during that time, there was a lot of civil wars happening and a lot of abuse of human rights that happened in this continent. And because of how the Organization of African Unity then was formed and the agendas there and the basis, it became very difficult for it to really offer the kind of leadership that was required by such an organization in this continent. So that forced the reformation or the rebranding of the Organization of African Unity to African Union. And there is a special charter there and mandate that allows African Union now to intervene in cases where they see there's human rights abuses and they see there's the civil wars. A lot of things that have been happening in this continent. And we've seen AU time and time again fail and fail and fail. AU has been failing the people of this continent. AU has been failing Africans. So now imagine them trying to form a Security Council. Tell me the possibilities of that even happening.
Yes, Miriam, I believe it was rebranded in terms of its name and also the structure.
And given a different mandate.
The values and the notion and the perspective of its leadership just remain the same. There's a lot of ineptitude, some slackness in the leadership of the AU. As it is right now, the AU is not even in a position to aid quell some electoral disputes in member states. AU has not come risen to the occasion when it was needed most. Like right now, we wouldn't be having such a push and pull between Djibouti and Kenya when we have a functional AU in office. So from my part, I think AU is just a defunct vehicle that cannot take the African continent anywhere other than the sideshows and the good parts that the leadership receives in terms of salaries and those other remunerations. But to me, Africa needs to seek a new, vibrant, alternative leadership other than what we have at the moment. Because if we have it as it is right now, then the hope of having a united Africa is a dream that is quite far. And of course, when we are divided, then even having negotiating for a good position at the United Nations will prove to be a no mean feat for us as a continent.
All right, and Don Diallo de la Vegas, you're saying China is a new player on the scene, especially in regards to this Djibouti-Kenya matter and this vote that will be taking place later on today at the United Nations Security Council. And this is why perhaps it's important, maybe why Don Diallo is saying that China is the new player on the scene. And I think China is a huge determining factor on the vote today in regards to how it's going to vote. And, when you look at China and the interest it has in Djibouti, this tiny country in the Horn of Africa is emerging as one of China's most strategic outposts, and not just in Africa, but anywhere in the world, home to China's only overseas military base. Djibouti is ideally located along the Belt and Road to provide a range of security, logistics and telecom networking services. Now, the Chinese also have effective control of the vast Durale port and have invested billions in building new rail infrastructure and connecting Djibouti with Ethiopia. So Djibouti happens to be the only country in the world that China has an overseas military base. You know, China is not very military involved as, say, the country like US and Russia and all that. Like they just mind their business. They'll come and conquer, but in a different way. And we've seen the number of investment, how much they've invested, especially in Africa. And Djibouti is very strategic for them. So for that reason, I don't know, they could vote for Djibouti.
Yes, and Miriam, when you look at this contest, in terms of capability and as well as merit, then Kenya, we are a step ahead of Djibouti. And of course, when you look at this war, this stalemate, it's not all about Kenya and Djibouti. But when you look beneath the surface, it is the interest of China, it is the interest of France, it is the interest of America. These are world superpowers that are fighting for their own interest in Africa. So really, that is why the reason why I feel that Djibouti's bid is quite hypocritical, and it's not genuine to the spirit of a united Africa. It is being used as a proxy to get a space at the UN Security Council, and in return disable African awareness awakening, so that we do have a weaker representative at the UN Security Council, and with a weaker representative at the table of negotiations, then it means that these foreign powers will have an easier time accessing the continent and doing whatever they want to do in terms of maybe harnessing the resources back here at home. But looking at Kenya, they know Kenya has been very steadfast in fostering peace and stability in the region, and also just acting as an oasis of peace in the region. So for them, in order for them to further their agenda, they need someone who is weaker, someone they can easily push around and get their things done. So that is my perspective, Miriam.
All right, and Jemo Mudoka, you're saying we have to fix this problem permanent in our intelligence. Kenya, love and fear God only. We have to chase all the criminal now. And Moses Anyefena, you're saying you're watching from Igweocha, a province in Biafra land. Thank you so much, Moses, for watching us. And Ben Okeki, you're saying, Doctor, I can't agree less to your submission on why Africa are more divided due to external influence, but we must blame ourselves more than this external influence. We lack leaders with focus and determination to change the narrative of Africa by the West. So essentially, or in a nutshell, what Ben is saying, and what I think we've been saying here, is a lot of our leaders, do we even have leaders? But a lot of our leaders in this continent act as gatekeepers for other interests that has nothing to do with Africa.
Yes, I think, Miriam, we also have a very big part as a people to play, other than looking at these foreign influencers that are maybe citing us against our brothers and sisters across the continent. Because as a people, we do have, just like our forefathers rose up above colonialism and fought for our independence, the current crop of leadership can also make a resolution of just forging an independent path where they make decisions quite independent from whatever these other foreign powers want them to do, and just be steadfast in advocating for the African agenda. So first of all, the blame, the buck stops at us, the African people, and that is falls flatly on our leaders. They are the ones who are supposed to come up with decisions that are very independent, decisions that cater for the people's interests, decisions that will oversee the unity of Africa long-standing for many years to come, and not play in the hands of these former colonial powers. So I totally agree with him.
Okay, very well. And Bismarck Bura, you're saying you really have electronic microscope for our political issues, Doctor. Yes, he does. And he just excused himself there earlier on. So thank you for that, Bismarck. And Jemu, you're saying we are really waiting for Trump support for this seat. I don't know, but I know America most likely would support us because of the after it had seen the interest of China and how much mileage China has had in this continent, and especially, Kenya is a key ally, especially when it comes to fighting terrorism, and it's just the gateway to the rest of Africa. So Kenya is very strategic. So a good partnership between Kenya and the U.S. is very important. Of course, for their own interest, but it's very important for the partnering with Kenya and in this region. It's very important. So they sort of changed their mind about how they want to their foreign policy. Between the U.S. and Kenya and across Africa. So we don't know, but most likely they might. I'm not sure. Samuel Lay, you're saying Africa disunity is the benefit of other continents. That is very true. And Deng Ayu, you're saying AU has failed to work within its capacity. Do they even know their capacity? Do they even recognize,
I don't think so, Miriam,
their
because
mandate?
yes, if the AU knew their capacity and the mandate, then they will be efficiently be working to ensure there is a peace, stability, and prosperity in Africa. But of course, what they have been accused is maybe putting ahead their interest or ahead of the African people, and also brokering these dirty deals with the foreign powers in order to enrich themselves. So I think
they are gatekeepers. Period.
Yes.
The same way Mobutu Sese Seko was a gatekeeper to the French and Belgians when he was the president there. He did not care, and he committed a lot of atrocities, and you did not hear them say one word because they benefited. He stood at the gate,
Yes.
he opened, they came, they plundered the wealth of that country, and they did not say one word. So a lot of our African leaders here are gatekeepers, and they will stand and open the gate for people to come in and plunder.
Some sort of quid pro quo. So
Absolutely.
they're benefiting from each other.
Absolutely. And Marcel, John, you're saying good morning, Biafra. Good morning, my sister. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for watching us. Although here in Kenya, Nairobi, East Africa, it's 1:45, so it's afternoon. But thank you so much for watching. And Dundi Ume, you're saying African continent is divided because of insensitivity of African bad leaders and backwardness of leadership, and that's why violence is everywhere, both religious, tribalism, and dictatorship, rigged elections to perpetuate themselves to power. And also, it's nice. We can sit here and blame all these bad leaders we have, but Daniel, we elect them. Oh, a lot of them rig themselves anyway, but we elect them. So in essence, we've become very complacent to this bad leadership.
Yes, and of course, Miriam, in Africa, you've been having these pompous campaigns, people promising, leaders promising the people all heaven on earth, and coming up with very, very beautiful manifestos. But now, when it comes to implementing these manifestos, once they're elected into power, all they do is a massive looting of public coffers, and others even going ahead and just neglecting the duties that they have been mandated to do by their officers. And of course, most of these people, after they get into office, they'll steal this money and invest in those foreign powers, foreign countries, hide their loot away from home. So at some point, we also bear the portion of blame as a people for electing leaders who are not up to the task, and also not doing scrutiny to ensure that we do get these unscrupulous leaders out of the competition. So at some point, we also bear the responsibility as a people. But the bigger burden now rests with the leadership that is currently in mandate, because they are there to make the decision for the people of Africa. They're there to make decisions that align with our interests. So let them be accountable at the moment. Let them forge policies that are very beneficial to their people back at home.
All right. Very well said there, Daniel. Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for joining us. And Dr. David Matanga was with us earlier, but he had to excuse himself to pay attention to some other urgent matters. But Daniel, thank you so much for staying with us.
Thank you, Miriam, and have a blessed day.
All right, so today is a D-Day for Kenya, as the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly today will go to vote for the next non-permanent member, and today 5 seats will be up for grabs of the non-permanent seats up for elections this year. One is held by an African group, which will become vacant when the term of the current holder, South Africa, expires on the 31st December 2020. The other 2 African group seats are currently held by Niger and Tunisia, and their terms will both end in December 2021. Within the African group, it is a turn of an East African country to take the seat. Now, following a ballot held by the African Union to decide the nominee in August 2019, won solidly by Kenya, the 2 countries have repeatedly disagreed over each other's claim to be the continent's officially endorsed candidate. So Kenya won, but Djibouti has come in to disagree with that. And that disagreement began after the secret ballot held by the African Union's Permanent Representative Council at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa. Now, the vote was won in the second round by Kenya with 37 votes to 13 that Djibouti got, and the expectation would no doubt have been that it would have settled the matter. But the Djiboutian representatives argued that their country should be the nominee based upon the AU's traditional policy of selecting United Nations Security Council candidates according to how frequently and when countries last sat on the council. Under those considerations, the Djiboutians argued their country was next in line to sit on the Security Council because Kenya had already sat on the council twice between 1977 to 1978 and also 1997 to 1998. Now, Djibouti has sat on the council just once. That was in 1993 to 1994. Now, to bring votes their way, Kenya and Djibouti launched their candidacy at the United Nations headquarters in New York in November and December 2019. Both countries have since promoted their virtues by showcasing their national achievements and cultures and quoting their fellow diplomats. And to emerge victorious, the winning candidate must secure 2/3 of the votes cast at the United Nations General Assembly, and that vote is happening today. So all the best to Kenya. This is the point, I'll be very biased. It is not a football match. I'll sit here and say, may the best team win. No, all the best to Kenya. Forgive me for that, but you know what? No apologies needed there. But thank you so much for watching us. Thank you so much for participating on today's show. And thank you so much for making today's show such a success. And we shall meet here later on in the afternoon for another show. My name is Miriam Ugutu. A very good afternoon to you.